The Amber Room was a room in the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo, close to Saint Petersburg, ornamented with amber panels backed with gold leaf and mirrors. The room, which was built in Prussia in the 18th century, was disassembled and subsequently vanished during World War II. It was regarded as the eighth wonder of the world before it was destroyed. Beginning in 1979, a reconstruction was made, which was finished in 2003 and installed at the Catherine Palace. The Amber Room was originally designed for the Charlottenburg Palace in 1701 but was erected at the Berlin City Palace instead. It was created by Danish amber artisan Gottfried Wolfram and German baroque sculptor Andreas Schlüter. Schlüter and Wolfram completed the room's construction up until 1707 when Danzig amber artisans Gottfried Turau and Ernst Schacht took over. It remained in Berlin until Frederick William I of Prussia gave it to his ally Tsar Peter the Great of the Russian Empire in 1716. The Catherine Palace in Russia is where the chamber was set up. It was approximately 55 square meters in size and held more than 6 tons of amber after enlargement and numerous restorations. The Nazi Army Group North seized the Amber Room during World War II and transported it to Königsberg for rebuilding and display. The room was disassembled and packed for storage in the basement of the castle sometime in the early months of 1944, as Allied forces drew closer to Germany. Allied bombers decimated Königsberg in August 1944, and it is the last mention of the room's location in the records. If it lives, no one knows what will become of it or where it is right now. At the Catherine Palace in Pushkin, it was decided to restore the Amber Room in 1979. It was finished and launched in 2003 after years of labor by Russian artisans and German funding. Architecture. With its unique architectural elements, including gilding, carvings, 450 kilograms of amber panels, gold leaf, gemstones, and mirrors, all of which are illuminated by candles, the Amber Room is a magnificent work of art. Angel and kid figurines are among the additional architectural and design features. The original Amber Room was once referred to as the eighth wonder of the world due to its exceptional qualities and unusual beauty. The worth of the room is currently estimated to be between $142 million in 2007 and above $500 million in 2016. Creation. The Amber Room was started in 1701 at the request of Frederick, the first king of Prussia, and was intended to be installed at Charlottenburg Palace, his palace. Andreas Schlüter created the room's concept and layout. With assistance from the Amber Masters Ernst Schacht and Gottfried Turau from Danzig, now Gdansk in Poland, it was created by Gottfried Wolfram, master craftsman to King Frederick IV of Denmark's Danish court. The full panels were subsequently put at Berlin City Palace, despite being initially intended for placement at Charlottenburg Palace. However, the Amber Room did not stay at Berlin City Palace for very long. Following a visit by Peter the Great of Russia, Frederick William I, son of King Frederick I, gave Peter the apartment as a gift in 1716, which helped to create a Russo-Prussian alliance against Sweden. German and Russian craftsmen collaborated to modify the Amber Room's original Berlin design in Russia. The decision to deposit the amber treasure at Catherine Palace, where the Russian imperial family customarily spent their summers, was made by Peter's daughter Empress Elizabeth. The room was about 55 square meters in size and held more than 6 tons of amber after additional 18th century improvements. Building the room took more than 10 years. Theft committed in World War II. The curators in charge of transferring the art treasures from Leningrad attempted to demolish and remove the Amber Room shortly after the German invasion of the Soviet Union during World War II. But because the amber had dried out and grown brittle over time, it was impossible to relocate the room without it collapsing. To prevent German forces from capturing it, the Amber Room was consequently concealed by unremarkable wallpaper, but the attempt to conceal such a well-known work of art failed. Under the guidance of 2 experts, German soldiers from Army Group North disassembled the Amber Room in 36 hours. The magnificent room arrived in Königsberg, East Prussia, on October 14, 1941, where it was stored and put on display in the castle. An Amber Room exhibition at Königsberg Castle was mentioned in a Königsberg newspaper on November 13, 1941. Days remaining in Königsberg. Hitler issued orders on January 21st and January 24th ordering the removal of looted goods from Königsberg. This made it possible for Albert Speer, the Reichsminister of Armaments, and his executive staff to move important cultural objects. Erich Koch, in charge of civil administration in Königsberg during the last months of the war, resigned from his position and fled the city, leaving General Otto Lasch in charge before the Amber Room could be relocated. The Royal Air Force intensively firebombed Königsberg in August 1944. Before the eventual occupation on April 9, 1945, it sustained additional significant damage from advancing Red Army artillery. Mystery and disappearance. The Amber Room was never again visible to the general public after the war, although sporadic stories claimed that some of its components survived. Several witnesses asserted to have seen the fabled chamber being placed onto the Wilhelm Gustloff before it departed Gdynia on January 30, 1945, and was torpedoed and lost by a Soviet submarine shortly after. The family of a soldier who claimed to have assisted in packing the amber chamber in 1997 discovered an Italian stone mosaic called Feel and Touch that was one of a set of 4 stones that had ornamented the Amber Room. The Russian authorities obtained the mosaic, which they incorporated into the reconstruction. 2 different teams, one German and one Lithuanian, proclaimed in 1998 that they had discovered the Amber Room. While the Lithuanian team thought the amber treasure was hidden in a lagoon, the German team suggested a silver mine. Neither of the 2 places proved to have the Amber Room. After conducting a thorough investigation, British investigative journalists Catherine Scott, Clark and Adrian Levy came to the conclusion that the Amber Room was likely destroyed when Königsberg Castle was damaged, first by the Royal Air Force bombing the city in 1944 and then by the Soviets setting fire to the castle and shelling the remaining walls. This notion was supported by official assessments, which were outlined in records from the Russian National Archives authored by Alexander Brusov, the Soviet team leader tasked with locating the Amber Room after the war. According to the official report, considering all the evidence, we may conclude that the Amber Room was destroyed between April 9th and April 11th, 1945. These dates line up with the conclusion of the Battle of Königsberg, which on April 9th resulted in the German garrison's surrender. A few years later, Brusov publicly expressed a different opinion. It is thought that this was forced upon him by Soviet authorities who did not want to be associated with the destruction of the Amber Room. The discovery that the remaining Italian stone mosaics were discovered among the burned remains of the castle was one of the details uncovered in the archives. In their research, Scott, Clark and Levy concluded that the Soviets' extensive searches for the Amber Room, even though their specialists had determined that it had been destroyed, were performed because they wanted to determine whether any of their soldiers were accountable for the demolition. Others in the Soviet Union, according to Scott, Clark and Levy, believed that the Amber Room's robbery served as an effective Cold War propaganda tool. Since then, Russian government representatives have refuted these findings. According to reports, senior researcher Adelaida Yokina at the Pavlovsk Palace said, "It is impossible to see the Red Army being so careless that they allowed the Amber Room to be destroyed." Some current Kaliningrad locals have a different story, claiming that the Red Army discovered at least some of the room's components in the castle's cellars after World War II. The Nazis were not made aware of the good state of the Amber Room at the time, allowing the Nazis to escape responsibility. The room is rumored to lie in a storeroom next to Königsberg Castle, but access to the castle remains, which had been permitted after World War II, was suddenly denied to all to maintain this tale. If you liked this video, follow us and you will find many videos that will help you to transform your life. Thanks for watching all the video. Please subscribe and hit the bell. See you soon.